Majority Report with Sam Cedar. The destiny of America is all safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite. Sam Cedar. They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
I'm Joanne. I'm a community
by the military industrial complex. The Majority Report with Sam Cedar. And I had to say that you made statement.
It is Thursday, June 10th, 2021. My name is Emma Vigeland in for Sam Cedar, and this is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, friend of the show, Astra Taylor of the Debt Collective, joins us to discuss her book, Remake the World, Essays, Reflections, Rebellions. Meanwhile, say goodbye to the Keystone XL pipeline. After Biden canceled their border crossing permit, the pipeline's corporate backers cried uncle and withdrew from the project. See ya. Biden announces that the U.S. will donate 500 million Pfizer doses to lower-income countries, a much larger commitment than previously stated. Thought we were completely removing ourselves from Afghanistan? Psych! The Pentagon is pushing for the ability to continue airstrikes to combat the Taliban by drones or by warplane. The blob seeps into everything. A bombshell ProPublica report which found that Jeff Bezos, Mike Bloomberg, Elon Musk, and the other 25 richest Americans pay a true tax rate of only 3.4%. It's supposed to be 37%. It's getting some attention in Congress and with the Attorney General. Will anything come from it? Don't get your hopes up. Ilhan Omar is being thrown under the bus by her Democratic colleagues once again. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Brad Sherman, and more are considering condemning Omar for saying, the U.S. and Israel commit terrorism, just like Hamas, which is accurate. With friends like these, who needs enemies? And lastly, prosecutors say that 179 water and land protectors were arrested after a mass act of civil disobedience at the construction of the Line 3 pipeline, which threatens water supply in native lands in Minnesota. Activists are calling on Biden to halt the pipeline, which was approved under Donald Trump. All this and more on today's program. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Sam is out today, if you couldn't tell, but we have got a great show for you. Let's start off with Ilhan Omar, because this is the kind of story that gets me incredibly enraged. So, Ilhan Omar is once again being stabbed in the back by her Democratic colleagues who are leaving to Republican framing in a charitable sense, but honestly, I think many of them just believe this. She is receiving death threats, which we'll play one of them for even a bit, because of the GOP outrage machine over this just very factual tweet that she sent out. She essentially, in this tweet, says that the United States, Hamas, Israel, Afghanistan, and the Taliban have all committed atrocities and essentially crimes against humanity. This is an accurate statement. There is nothing wrong with what she said there. But of course, she is being just lambasted by the right wing. Everything she does, they're outraged by. I wonder why. They weren't so outraged, though, when this guy said a very similar thing in 2017.
Who is a killer? There are a lot of killers. What, you think our country is so innocent? You think our country is so innocent? I don't know of any government leaders that are killers.
Take a look at what we've done too. Was that not very similar to what she said there, or was it just the act of saying it about Israel? I think that's a lot of what we're seeing from the her Democratic colleagues here, but it's just an indisputable fact. I mean, just to give you a sense of the vitriol that she faces. She tweeted this out, I think it was last night, about just a clip of a voicemail that she received. We bleeped out the N-word, but just so you know, that's what was bleeped out here. That's what was said to her. Take a listen.
They destroy cultural heritage. They destroy history. Just like Ms. Ilhan Omar, because Muslims are terrorists, and she is a raghead, and every anti-American communist that works for her, it was coming for you.
So, everybody knows that this is the amount of hatred that she received, probably more than any other member of Congress on a daily basis. And Democrats need to condemn this very bigotry. Democrats like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who are considering formally sanctioning her, they're showing their true bigotry themselves, honestly, because they are saying to all of us that the victims of U.S. and Israeli violence don't necessarily count in their eyes, and they aren't able to be spoken about. That the very mentioning of those acts of the United States killing civilians, droning weddings, killing children, or Israel targeting hospitals, COVID testing centers, schools, religious sites, journalists, the buildings of journalists and Palestinian journalists themselves, that very act of talking about them is so egregious that it needs to be condemned. And why is that, though? Because Muslims are disproportionately the victims of U.S. and Israeli state terror. And in the eyes of right-wingers and in the eyes of Democrats like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the Muslims are the ones that commit the terror, right?
Yeah, well, I just want to jump in. When Debbie Wasserman Schultz sent that letter says that she gives cover to terrorists, they are provoking hate and possibly attempts on Ilhan Omar. That's what's happening with that. Because, of course, Ilhan Omar isn't a terrorist or giving cover to terrorists. Contextualizing violence in the context of large violence. Not necessarily in the context of Hamas. I think Israel helped create Hamas because they wanted a countermeasure to the PLO. This is from Mehdi Hassan, the intercept. Listen to former Israeli officials such as Brigadier General Yitzhak Setember, who was the Israeli military governor of Gaza in the early 1980s. Setember later told the New York Times reporter that he would help finance the Palestinian Islamist movement as a counterweight to the secularists, and they said. The Israeli government gave me a budget, the entire budget, the Brigadier General invested in the military government gives to the mosques. And that's because Hamas and that type of opposition is exactly who Israel wants, so they can play this game. This is a game that is being played with Ilhan. It's to obscure what Israel's doing and the apartheid conditions there and project there, and it's to smear one of the bravest voices that we have in this country. Do not let what happened to Jeremy Corbyn, which was a travesty, happen to Ilhan Omar, and I think everyone should have it back.
Well, you're absolutely right, and I just want to add this too. Although even further than her, I mean, Hamas's terrorism, in terms of the body count, it's not even proportionate. It's not even proportionate to what the U.S. and Israel has been able to do. And part of that is because Hamas's rockets or their munitions, they can't target them. They are, as Sam has said on this program many times, they are just more explosive fireworks as opposed to the technology that is available to Israel and the United States. And we purposely targeted civilians. It's been documented. And as is Israel. I mean, and Hamas is more just a reaction to subjugation. And of course there's going to be retaliation that comes out of that. So I will say that the actors that are more powerful that are committing terroristic violent acts, that is even more problematic because of the power dynamics at play there. And as Matt said, making her the boogeyman and wrapping up their attempts to hide Israel's crimes and obscure what's really happening in this apartheid state. They're using right-wing bigotry and bigotry towards her from Democrats as a cudgel in order to obscure that exact situation. So it's even more disgusting because they know that this is the kind of vitriol she faces, the kind of hatred that is directed at her on a daily basis. And yet they still cynically use that to achieve their own ends.
And I just want to say with regards to January 6th, this is when we see right-wing violence happening, will be this sort of thing. Will be like that's the message on Omar's message. And I hope that day is long, far off, but I'm worried that it's going to come. Because this sort of thing is happening.
Yeah. So I hope Democrats are proud of themselves because they've aided and abetted this for since Omar's been in Congress. Nancy Pelosi was instrumental in this in 2018, I believe. Still another formal sanction of her. Let's hope, it doesn't seem like Pelosi's on board now, but the fact that it ever was a conversation shows at the very least immense cowardice, but mostly it's a lot more insidious than that, I believe.
Yeah, that's early in the day too.
Yeah. We have to take a quick break, but when we come back, Ashley Taylor will be joining us. Brandon, it's your time to shine.
Yeah, so we have a new sponsor that I am happy to use for. Sam reached out and said, there's a skincare product that wants to advertise on the show. Skincare. And I was like, I do. So we are sponsored by Theology. They have skincare routine. And as someone who always I have a particular skincare routine that I use. But I was definitely willing to try this Theology, and so it's really simple. You go to their website, you get a custom trial, and fill out this test basically, and tell about your skin, and send you a custom package of products that will deal with whatever you're dealing with. Including sensitive skin, acne, dark circles under your eyes, or wrinkles, and it comes later, and you get a 30-day trial with an everyday face wash, vital morning face cream, preparing night cream, and I really like the nourishing night cream. I think that's a retinol for guys that aren't used to retinol. It's a little bit of better time to start because it really does make you look like your best self every day. And after that, you continue with your 90-day trial, subscribe to save, and go out with cards. If you don't like the vital morning face cream, if you don't like the repair at night cream, you can say I don't want that, and make it your own. And I've incorporated this into my dermatologist recommended face routine, I guess. And it's been really nice, been very seamless, and I've noticed great results so far. And there's tons of people love it. It's been written up in Esquire Men's Health, and I think all of our listeners that need this, COVID life wearing masks all the time, you can be a little social again with your friends, you want to look your best, and I think we all benefit from that. So head over to theology.com. Save up 40% 30-day trial, and just click the link and include for the podcast listeners. That's how they know that our listeners are going to be looking good, glamorous on their website. And you go to theology.com, save 40% off the 30-day trial today.
Wow, well done, Brendan.
Doing this over here.
Yeah, there we go. All right, TM Astra. Okay, I'd like to welcome to the program, or welcome back to the program, Ashley Taylor. Here she is to promote her book, Remake the World, Essays, Reflections, Rebellions. Thanks so much for joining us today, Ashley.
Thanks for having me. I'm really honored to talk to you. I will through the cover because I keep doing it, so I
extra special. I love that, and I love the cover. And Astra's been on the show a bunch of times with the Dead Collective, and you've really been, as you write about in your book, involved in activism and this kind of work for many years at this point. So there's a lot to glean from what you write. You start your book with the coronavirus pandemic and around this central theme of breathing and breath, right? So in 2020, there was COVID. I don't know. The audience, I don't know if they've ever heard of it, but there's something called the coronavirus pandemic. And also the murder of George Floyd. Obviously, where he lost his breath, lost his life, breathe, climate change, all coming together. So just take us through that and why you chose to open with that and how it informs the rest of the book.
So, yeah, that essay begins with exactly this beautiful thing. Back to breath in 2020. And I was able to see that everything that we learned that we work here to go back and once and to breathe together. And so of course it was also teaching like some of about how there are lots of factors today, but lots of apprehensions about how power works and who's pulling the strings. But it turns out that actually breathing together has another dimension. If you go back to the founding, there's a sort of effect of conspiracy doctrine, which is a legal framework that is used to suppress organizing, specifically labor. So throughout the 1800s, 1900s, workers who were trying to come together to advocate for better treatment in the workplace, it basically just to change society, were charged with being a conspiracy, which is way great line I quote in that essay. Like, when workers need try to raise wages, but what bosses do is bosses need to lower wages constantly. So conspiracy doctrine is used to suppress this. So what I'm looking at in that essay is the way that long war against the left against people has contributed to policy injustice to the graces of violence, to the fact that we're struggling to make to climate change, because actually, people have been punished for trying to organize change, and that long war on the left has created this vacuum into which destructive that flourish, right? So it's all connected. So that essay is being, I was thinking about the conditions of 2020 years, obviously, going over to 2021, and thinking what is sort of the fundamental point of the entire lesson, that people need to organize, that actually want to change things for the better, was required to be conspiracy of ethical proportion. People have to come read together to get organized and build power so we can actually have change. And that is what I've been trying to do, with the Dead Collective, and in collaboration with other movements for most of my life.
Well, you write that our inability to conspire is actually hurting us, which I thought was such a great flip on the concept of the conspiracy theory. And you take us through historically the first labor conspiracy case, which I know you just alluded to from the 1805 Philadelphia coordinators trial. Can you talk about that to the audience and how that sets the stage for labor conspiracies in the broader sense?
Yeah, again, the doctrine looks back to the colonial era. It's actually imported from British law, and it was twisted around. So the first doctrine initially in Britain was about preventing people from sort of frivolous cases. Somehow it got turned around into punishing those who are trying to build a collective, build collectivity, build power, and go on strike and organize for better wages and stuff like that. So it's one of these things where legal the law is distorted by people in power. So that was an important first thing because essentially was that labor unions were illegal. And that was the reality for decades and decades. And of course, workers won the right to organize is a big deal here, and the Wagner Act break through where workers finally had the right to form unions. And then, of course, there was the counterattack that passed partly in 1947, which said, okay, sure, you have a basic right to unionize, but you can't do solidarity strikes, you can't do sit-down strikes. So then, once again, they want to get solidarity expiring and illegal. So it's just, I think it's really important for those of us who are struggling to organize to put this all in historical context and realize just how threatening it is, just how threatening organizing is to the status quo, right? We don't have to make it illegal to engage in this legal suppression of solidarity if there wasn't something incredibly powerful about it. And so, yeah, this work, I think...
Vou dar consulta presencial à Ana. Ok, precisas que eu segure o cão.
Also consciously back to the fact that,
É que se precisares, eu preciso de máscara para arrumada. Seguras o cão, então. Não, não sei portar melhor.
Let the responsible people handle it. And I said, no, what we need to do is actually build democratic mass political power, right? So that we can finally engage in the kind of economic struggle and redistribution that we really need if we're going to solve some of these major political and social dilemmas.
Yeah, and you also give some more historical context about, I guess, the modern interpretation of of conspiracy theories. COINTELPRO, Watergate, the lies that got us into the Iraq War, and it just creates this fertile ground for conspiracy theories as we know them today. I want to get into Q, which you write about extensively, but just in terms of from, I guess, the 20th century on, like even, or I guess modern right-wingers who seem to delve more into conspiracy theories than the left in general, like even if they're not consciously thinking about, say, COINTELPRO or whatever, how did all of those historical events create this ecosystem where this kind of conspiracy theory could thrive?
Yeah, thank you for, what did I write in that essay? Yeah, thanks for the reminder. I think that's really important. One of the main pieces of that essay is that the most destructive conspiracy theories have emanated from the center of power, right? And they have been anti-communist, white supremacist, anti-Muslim conspiracies, right? And so, looking at the two waves of the Red Scare in the 20th century, anti-communism, McCarthyism, right? These conspiracy theories have been, again, emanating from the very center of power and have been about suppressing the left. And that has created this vacuum. The other element that has aided these sort of negative, totally reactionary and baseless conspiracy theories is, of course, our media ecosystem, where, basically you can kind of monetize confusion, monetize